Hi, and welcome to the third video recapping the GM and I Am Norm Invitational in Charlotte, North Carolina, at the Charlotte Chess Center. We have 20 players playing, 10 in the GM group, 10 in the IM group. Many players still have Norm chances. Today I'm going to be recapping the results from rounds 4 through 5, as well as give an update on the standings, even with a few games from round 6 already in the cross table. So in first we have I am Andrew Tang with a score of 4 out of 5, +3 score. He has 3 wins and 2 draws. So he will need a score of 2.5 out of 4, +1 through his next 4 games to get his GM norm and achieve the title. He already has the rating and 2 other norms. So if he gets his norm in Charlotte, he will be a GM. GM Ringuar has a score of 4 out of 6, 4 draws and 2 wins. He's still kept his undefeated streak in Charlotte, I guess now at 24 games. He still has not lost in the city of Charlotte. I am Panjwani, also with a score of 4 out of 6, with 4 draws and 2 wins. He will need a score of 2.5 out of 3 in his next 3 rounds to get a norm. Certainly still possible for him. I am Nicholas Cheka with a score of 3.5 out of 6, 4 draws or 5 draws and 1 win, +1 score. He will need a score of 3 out of 3 to get a norm. FM Kevin Wang with an even score, 3 out of 6. He's looking to get his rating above 2400 to get the IM title. He already has all 3 norms, so he's certainly doing well with 3 out of 6, considering he's the lowest rated person in the field. I am Mandiza, 2.5 out of 6. Mandiza is looking to get 2500 rating to get his GM title. He already has all 3 GM norms. GM Zapata with a score of 2 out of 5. All decisive results so far, 3 losses and 2 wins. That's definitely somewhat rare, so GM Zapata is definitely an exciting player to watch. I am Tiglan with a score of 2 out of 5 through different means, 4 draws and 1 loss. Another top junior player. GM Boros with 3 draws and 2 losses to have a 1.5 out of 5 score. And then I am Michael Lee with 3 draws and 3 losses thus far. Let's just switch tabs. FM Sinha with a score of 4.5 out of 6. You can see that he won his game in round 6, and that's already in the cross table. So he's doing quite well. We'll need a score of 2 out of 3 +1 in his next 3 games to get a norm. I am Del Campo with a score of 3.5 out of 6. 2 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. FM Furfine with a score of 3.5 out of 6. You can see that he lost his game in round 6, somewhat hurting his norm chances, but a perfect score of 3 out of 3 in his next 3 rounds will still get the job done. And then FM Shankar looking to get 2400 rating to get his IM title. He already has 5 norms. He has a score of 3 out of 5, rebounded nicely from a first round loss. National Master Ludwig looking to get his 3rd and final norm in Charlotte, has a score of 2.5 out of 5. So if he runs the table 4 out of 4 in the next 4 games, he will get his norm. I am Bora, also with a score of 2.5 out of 5. NM Ben Moon rebounded from his loss in round 4 with a win over International Master Del Campo in round 5. Moon is looking to get his first IM norm in Charlotte. FM Christopher Yu, also in an even score. And then I am Young with a score of 1.5 out of 6. 3 losses and 3 draws. This is his 3rd time in Charlotte, I think. Maybe 2nd. And then FM Burrows with 1 out of 5, looking to get his first win in round 6. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the games. start out with the game Shankar versus Moon. Okay, so Shankar was white. Started out with the move e4, c5, Sicilian. Okay, and the c4 move shows that it's going to be a Maraxi bind type of position. All these moves somewhat theoretical. a5, showing the black's going to try to play on the queen side and maybe create some weak pawns with like, a4 and attack the c pawn. White's going to more or less try to play on the king side and has control of the d5 square as well as the d file. So white places another rook on the d file, is likely going to play f4, f5. Bishop d4, so that now whenever the knight moves, the bishops will be traded off. Bishop e6, trying to put pressure on the c pawn. f4, there we go. So another option instead of bishop e6 was maybe bishop d7 to prepare b5 at some point. Put the rook on c8, maybe the rook on b8, played b5. But black decides to play bishop e6 to put immediate pressure on the c pawn. Force a move like b3. This didn't occur here. Yeah, it occurs here. b3. And black has his pieces on the a file. So after the move b3, black does have some queenside play. The one thing about this bishop on e6, though, is that it's always running into the move f5. f5 now comes with tempo, and it's likely a move that white was going to play anyways. Okay, so there we have it, b5. Trying to blow up the position. For example, if white goes knight takes b5, queen takes d2 will follow, and this e pawn will hang. So white decides to play f5 instead, pushing away this bishop to the square d7. However, in this position, this pawn will not hang. Of course, it's doubled and isolated, but white is defending it a million times. So it would be probably just a clean pawn for white. So instead, Moon goes b4. F takes e6. Pawn takes c3. Pawn takes f7. King takes f7. And then bishop takes c3. White is going to try to go queen d5 check. So black plays queen b6 check, move away the queen with tempo. And then queen takes b3 was played. Potentially a crucial mistake. It's difficult not to take the free pawn, so that now white doesn't just, run up the board with b4, b5. But here, I think black's king safety is pretty important. And the queen is going to be misplaced here on a2. Rook b2 first. So the immediate queen d5 check is the engine move. And after king f8, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, rook takes f6 is supposed to be playable. Yes, because of rook b7. And of course, any check will just be met by bishop d1. And the queen f7 check is nearly unstoppable here. The computer recommends queen takes d1. So, a shot somewhat missed by Shankar, but his position is good nonetheless. Rook b2 was played in between, allowing the queen to come back and defend the b7 square. Oop. Second time that's happened when I've been recording. Yeah, so queen a4 played. Queen d5 check, taking advantage of the pin on the knight. King f8. Rook b7, bringing the rook in to the attack. Queen to e8, defensive move. Queen e6 was probably soon to come. e5. Point of e5 is that when black recaptures, now the c pawn is completely passed. Nothing stopping it from becoming a queen other than black's pieces. Queen takes e5. Rook b8, attempting to trade pieces. c5, starting to get the pawn rolling. King g8. Now this knight is no longer pinned. c6. Rook c8. Bishop b5. Gonna play c7 with tempo on the queen. Queen d8. Queen e6 check. Yes, I guess it's pretty difficult for black to come up with a useful move here. Rook takes c6 could have been considered, sacrificing the exchange. Yep, I think if white can get this position, or black can get this position, he's got to be happy. But the in-between move, bishop d4, would be somewhat annoying. Because now white is still going to capture here, and this e7 pawn might be hanging, like, let's say e6, so that bishop takes e6 is not possible. But here, the move queen f4 is going to win. Yep, and pretty much impossible to hold on to all the material. You know, obviously, like a move like knight h5, not possible because of mate on f8. So black would be forced to do something like this, giving up his pawn, and then white's just a clean exchange up. Okay, so back to the game. Black played queen d8, but unfortunately this allows queen e6 check and bishop a5, taking advantage of the the queen being tied down. So queen g8, white takes. Okay. And white went on to convert here, up the piece. Black didn't have too many other options. Bishop e6 could have even been played, I think. But white went for more. Rook d1, threatening rook d8. No good way to stop it. So black was forced to give up some material. And this is obviously winning for white. Okay, so let's look at another game. Furfine Burrows. The game starts out with d4. Bishop f4, sort of showing maybe London system. But then here white goes knight c3. So this is the tricky part of these opening moves, d4, bishop f4, e3. Black might think, oh, I've seen this before, London system. But now all of a sudden the move knight c3 is played, and it might be a lot more dynamic than black expected. Bishop g7, h4. Showing that white's going to put on a kingside attack. a6, trying to prepare the move c5. For example, if c5 is played right away, maybe black didn't want the move knight b5 to come. Bishop e2, preparing h5. And then c5 played. h5. Black plays an interesting move here. G takes h5. Typically when, somebody is running their h-pawn off the board, you don't take it, but there was certainly no like immediate huge issue with this move. So definitely an interesting move by Burrows. Knight f3. White declines to take it immediately. It's not like you play h5, to like trade pawns. You play h5 to try to open the king. Bishop takes h5 immediately was just not necessary. Knight c6. Knight e5. Improving the position of the pieces. If black takes, I would think pawn takes would be played, followed by rook takes h5. So no need to take the knight on e5. Bishop f5. And now white takes on h5 with the threat of knight takes f7 or bishop takes f7. So black's forced to take. Another move that was certainly possible is castling, but definitely difficult to castle into the moves g4, g5. And with all of white's pieces aiming at the king, this would be a difficult move for a human to make. Bishop takes h5 though. Knight takes. Queen takes. Bishop g6. This bishop that came to f5 is doing a good job of stopping white's threats of taking on f7 and taking on h7. F takes. Curious to see what would happen after h takes. Oh, you win the queen. Okay. Not too difficult. Second time that's happened in this video. I need to stop pressing that arrow. F takes g6. Queen g4. So another possibility here was queen takes d5. And there's a really cool move. I know why white didn't play this. It's because of the move pawn takes pawn. And then queen takes d5, like here. Castles. Okay, and it's not so clear that white's gonna win this game. But after pawn takes, white has a really good shot here, I think. Might not be here. Maybe it's in a different position. Yeah, rook takes h7. With the idea if rook takes, queen g8 check, king d7, queen takes h7, and okay, black can take this, but white will take the bishop. And with king safety, and white being up a pawn or two, this position is good for white. So, rook takes h7. White would have gotten into this position. Oh, sorry. Rook takes rook. Where white is certainly doing a lot better here. Up a clean pawn with weak pawns on g6 and e7. Would be a nice position to play for white. Okay, but white wanted to keep the queens on, so queen g4 was played. Pawn takes d4. Pawn takes d4. Knight takes d4. Castles long, mostly to prevent the threat of knight takes c2. Also putting pressure on the d file with the knight and pawn lined up nicely for this rook. Black castled. Bishop g5 was played. Another option was maybe the simple bishop e3. And after e5, queen h3, h5, g4. Not sure why this couldn't be done without the, pawn on e5. Oh, the bishop was hanging. Yeah, so you have to put the bishop somewhere. But with a bishop on g5, maybe it gets a little bit in the way of your attack. Blocking the g file temporarily. Anyways, bishop g5 was played. Attacking the rook, or the knight also. Queen b6. So here I think black made a tactical oversight. After knight takes d5, maybe he thought he had knight e2 check. With some sort of pressure in this position. But it turns out to be white who gets the good position here. Rook f7 is like forced. If king h8 is played, this will lead to mate. Okay, so obviously rook f7 would be forced. And then just some simple move. Computer recommends king e3. Difficult to see these moves though. Yeah, threatening like knight takes e7 check. Yeah, black's gonna be forced to play something passive, like rook e8 or something. And white should win from here. So I'm not sure exactly what black overlooked, but I'm sure he played queen b6 thinking that one of this knight check was going to be good, or at least good enough for like a perpetual or winning the knight on d5 or something. But after it actually appeared on the board, um, he changed his mind and went queen c5, and then from here on out, white went on to win with the significant material advantage after knight takes e7. Okay, so that's gonna do it for the video for today. Please tune in tomorrow for another update on rounds 6 and 7, and then another video to recap the final rounds and tell you who got norms. So thank you for watching.